Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Brenda. You kind of made my job irrelevant this morning, so thank you all for being here. It's been great. You can join us for refreshments in the back if you'd like. Okay, technology, it's my friend. I say that a lot, especially when it's not working. I go, technology is my friend. It helps. So what are we talking? Oh, yes, you've got to let it all go. That's our talk today. Yeah. This morning I was on the trail, and I was thinking about the talk title, but I was also thinking about a lot of stuff I've been listening to the past week, which is a lot of Carl Jung. Been listening to a lot of his. It's hard to understand him at times, but I've just been on YouTube listening to a bunch of his stuff and his psychology and shadow work. And I turned on the little microphone on my phone and just put it on transcribe, and I walked for like 20 minutes just speaking, and I thought, that was great. Why didn't I save that for today when I was here? Because I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to stand here going, and then anyhow. So I'm going to try to put myself back in that space and recapture that. I think I'm there on a lot of the points I wanted to make. But I'll start with this, that I also heard this past week, this idea of perfection. And is anybody here somebody that likes perfection, likes to be perfect? Yeah. How's that working out? Just curious how your perfection is working out for you? Yeah, so it depends on what you're doing, yeah. So the idea of this perfection that this person was stressing was that perfection means it's done. It's like saying that's complete when it's perfect, right? We can step back and go, okay, that's it. And I was thinking about that, like if I was an artist and I was a painter or something, that might be what I would do, is just, okay, that's done now. I don't need to do it anymore. And then I thought, well, when I was a musician in the studio recording, we would get to that place where, we've done everything we think we can do with this and we're good with it. Now it's time to move on. And then I was thinking about that in terms of how crazy that is for me to think that I could be perfect. But then if that's the case, if perfection is in the completeness of something, then everything is perfect because every moment is completed, right? That moment happens and then it's done. So it had to be perfect because you can't go back to it, right? There's no going back. So that was just like a huge relief for me to go, oh, it's always perfect. I don't have to worry about it anymore, because if I live my life present in the moment, just being wherever I'm being, it'll be perfect, regardless of what happens. Even in the stuff that I don't like. Anybody have those moments too of things that happen that you don't like? Yeah. Yeah, but how can we turn that into growth, right? Because if we actually embrace that, the I don't likeness of it, and turn that into how can I bring this into me and make myself stronger from it? What can I learn from this? What can I bring into myself right now and carry that forward? Because there is growth in everything if we want to look at it that way. And part of that is to actually let it go. Right? Because when we take it in and take the growth from it, is when we can complete it. And then we can let it go. We can actually move on. That's the work to do. It's not to push it down. It's not to try to cover it up I remember hearing this a long time ago, putting a rose garden over a mud pie, right? We want to dress up the mud pie with the rose garden, but we haven't actually dealt with the mud yet. And we need to deal with that mud. We need to actually get our fingers in there and kind of get messy and dirty with it and uncover it and love it and appreciate it. And then we can move into that place of letting it go and moving on from it. I also think of that idea of dragging my past with me. Anybody bring their past with them? Right? And then you bring it and you arrive somewhere new, and what do you do? You bring it in and you drop it right into that place, and now it's there. And so nothing changes. Right? Our environment has changed. Right? The surroundings may have changed, but what's going to happen is it's not going to change. We're going to repeat some of the same stuff. And it's just going to, what was that, Mark Twain, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. Right? So we end up seeing sort of like, I love this one. I feel like I've been here before. Anybody had that? Yeah, I feel like I've been here before, man. That's my drunk voice, by the way. Hey, man, how's it going? I feel like I've been here, man. It's so good to see you. So if you can, here's what I listened to. I don't even know I don't know where this came from. I think Leslie shared this with me, but I listened to this talk. It was maybe 10 or 12 minutes. And so I'm going to give you my interpretation of it. This is my version of it. So imagine this scenario. And Carl Jung says that, this I found interesting as well, is that whatever we imagine, it's real. Because it's our own reality, right? It might not be for anybody else, but we can't discount it as if it's nothing. It's actually real for us. When we think of something, when we see ourselves doing something a certain way, when we play back like those moments where we're engaged with somebody and maybe we're having a bit of an argument or discussion about something, and you walk away and you're like, man, I wish I'd have said this, right? Or I wish I would have been more this way, right? That's us imagining ourselves of how we could be, how we could show up, and it's real for us. And maybe part of it is idyllic, right? It's the ideal version of ourselves. So I'll give you an example from my own life. So I like to get out in front of people and speak. And I have in my imagination that it's massive audiences of thousands of people. And then it's also not that. And I have to be okay with the way it unfolds and enjoy the moment. But in my imagination, it's bigger than that, and I want to live into that. And so what this person was saying is that I need to approach everything as if it's that. Right? I need to come out and be like it is the thousands of people and embody that experience, the best version of myself. And so I need to let go of any judgment of what it might look like. I also need to let go and release that idea of how it's supposed to look. Anybody have ideas of how it's not supposed to go this way? Who has said that? It wasn't supposed to go this way, right? Wasn't supposed to happen like this. And it's like yelling at the jungle at that point. Because it's done. Because the moment was perfectly complete. But then we might struggle with moving forward And so what there is to do is to bring along that idea, that embodiment of your idea of how your best self shows up. And I think we have to tame that also with how do we want others to feel about us? How do we want them to walk away from an engagement? So we can't just be super cavalier and just be running through, just charging like a bull. This is the way my life's supposed to be. It has to be tempered, but still we can hang on to that idea of who we are, of the truth we know about ourselves. And I think it's important to realize it's a truth. So it's not a belief. It's not faith. It's actually true. This is the truth of who I am. And standing in that, regardless of how it looks out there. Because it looks messy at times. And it doesn't look like the universe is siding with you. But that's when we have to call on that. That's when we really need one of our unity powers, like release, is our strength. We need the strength to stand in who we are for ourselves. I see this with kids a lot. When I think back to my teenage days, how teenagers wanted me to act a certain way or other kids. And I see that with kids that I know, how they're trying to be forced to be a certain way instead of being allowed to be who they are. And so, if anything, if we could develop that strength within them to be their truth, to not give in to release that expectation that's been put upon them. And the work I think that's required is to go in, right? We need to go in for ourselves. So this is why in Unity we have affirmative prayer. This is why in Unity we have meditation. These are core foundations so that we can pull out from ourselves our life. Because it's not happening out there. It's all happening in here. How I see this room is going to be different than how you see this room. And I don't really know how you see this table. I know how I see it. And I think we see it the same, but I'm not certain. There's my perception, there's your perception. And yet we're one, right? We're unified, we're unity, but we're really having our own individual experience of that. So part of the idea of letting it all go is allowing yourself to be exactly the way it is. Accepting the way it is right now. And not hanging on to something, trying to make it different than what it is. Letting that go. Breathing. Okay, so that happened. And now what is there to do? What's the next act? What's the next step to take? I want to read something from Charles. Charles is pretty wordy. So just try this on, though. In here, it is just as necessary that one should learn to let go of thoughts, conditions, and substances in consciousness, body, and affairs when they have served their purpose and one no longer needs them. It's just important as it is that one should lay hold of new ideas and new substances to meet one's daily requirements. How can you actually bring in something new and develop something new without letting go of stuff that no longer serves? Imagine if you had all of the clothing that you've ever had throughout your entire life right now, and it was all in your bedroom, and you needed to put it into a dresser and organize it all. I'm talking every piece of clothing, from the little 1-year-old onesie you were wearing to whatever you were wearing yesterday. Choke you right up. So what do? We want to bring something new. We get rid of something old. Right? Well, we have to do the same work on ourselves. And what I gathered from Jung's shadow work, doing shadow work is not about releasing and getting rid of our shadow and pushing it down and claiming it's bad. It's actually about knowing thyself. Embracing that part of yourself, loving that part of yourself. Because all it's looking to do is protect you. And so sometimes you just have to go, you know what? It's okay, I've got this. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate you want to keep me safe, and you think that there's some real terrorizing thing happening here. It's not. And I'm okay now. I was 12 years old when that happened, and I'm not that anymore. I've got this. So we need to let go of that past trauma by actually embracing it. Again, getting our fingers into the mud and understanding it, knowing ourselves. So I did this in going through ministry school. I had a class and we did shadow work. And I had done this before in my life, but there was this one that seemed to elude me. It's probably the deepest wound I had as a child, and it was so hard for me to see about myself until I did this one class, and it revealed itself one morning while walking on the trail as I was thinking about it. And it was this idea in my mind that I would be better off alone. That everything would just be better if I was alone, and I wouldn't have to deal with pain. I wouldn't have to deal with others' pain. I wouldn't have to deal with any suffering. I wouldn't have to listen to somebody else tell me what to do. There was that. And when I saw it, it was like, oh, of course, that's part of me. But it wanted to elude, it wanted to hide. And having discovered it, I was able to, console myself, to treat myself with some compassion and some love, and bring it to a place where it felt safe now to know that that was part of me. And then I could let go of the pain of it. And so now it still comes up, probably when I'm having a disagreement at home with members of my family. I would be better off alone in those moments for sure. And I can go, you know what? It's okay. I've got this. I can actually manage to get through this right now. And I can laugh at it, and I can love it and appreciate it. And so that's what we get to do, right? If we want to live our lives in a certain frequency and vibration, so that ideal picture of yourself when you're doing something, when you think, I can do this, and it's like you can see yourself. Anybody, do you have those moments, or is it just me? Like, I'm not the only one, right? Where you can see, oh, I could do this, and it'll work, and you've imagined the whole thing. That's your ideal self. Well, if you want that in your life, you actually have to bring yourself up to that vibration and frequency. because you're not going to see the opportunities that are available unless you are being that. Do you get that? It's impossible to imagine or to experience a certain vibration and frequency unless you are in it. It's only when you are there that it matches and you can see what's possible. Then the opportunities align. It's as simple as like, hey, I want to buy a Volkswagen Bug. I don't know why I always use a Volkswagen Bug. I just do. But I want to buy one, and then you see them everywhere. They didn't all just show up in your town because you thought you wanted one. They were always there. But now you've matched your vibration and frequency to them, and so you are seeing the abundance of Volkswagen Bugs. And then you go, I don't think I want one anymore, because everybody seems to have one. Maybe that part's not true. So the work is to let go of things. The work is to look at ourselves, first and foremost, always. To invite love and appreciation and compassion for ourselves. It's so hard to offer that to others if it doesn't reside here. How would you know what it looks like? So we don't bring it here to ourselves so that we can, be arrogant and just like, I'm the only thing that matters. We bring it here to ourselves so we don't need it from others. Because I'll tell you, there was a time when I needed all that from others, and it was a life of unhappiness. It was joyless for me. But now that I've actually embraced that idea, I'm like, I want to love myself so much, I have to give it away. So I'm thinking I'm going to walk into places with little cards that say, hey, would you like some love? Maybe not. But isn't it like people would freak out? But really, it's not what they think. Then I'd have to explain myself. It's like, no, you've got it all wrong. I didn't mean that. I meant... So maybe we want to invite release and letting go, and it's a power of, it's one of Unity's 12 powers. And it's located, obviously, in our lower abdomen, in our body. So, one of the things we can be accused of at Unity is being too much in our heads and not enough in our bodies, yet we have these 12 powers that are distributed throughout the body. And so one of those things to reflect on is, to be in meditation, to hold your hands over your lower abdomen, to invite, what can I let go of? What is there for me to let go of? To be in that question. You'd be surprised what might come up. When you come out of meditation, you would be surprised that you might have like, what? And it might be scary. It might be really scary. And you'll immediately think, how could I possibly do, what would I do? Because we get trapped in these, this way of being, and we think that if we have to give something up, our life won't look the same, and it's going to be erratic, and oh my gosh, and like the whole story unfolds from there. Yet that truth for ourselves was the truth. Because I firmly believe we know what we need. We know what we need to do anytime we're willing to ask the question of ourselves. The answer will come. We may not like it, right? We may not understand it, but it is your truth. And it's not about faith and it's not about belief. It's about knowing that is your truth. And it's not the circumstances. Circumstances don't matter. It's only your state of being that matters. Because if you show up as you fully, you could manage anything. I believe that for everybody.